It's time for the Quarry, folks. Now, I'm going to venture to guess that you probably already assumed that this review was going to be coming somewhere down the pipe. I'm also going to venture to guess that you're already assuming that I loved this game. If so, you are correct. Of course I did. It's a creature feature. It's right up my alley, so why wouldn't I? Now, the biggest key to this is that they actually let the werewolves be werewolves. There was no science fictional attempt at explaining them away. Basically, what we have here is if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably wants to kill you. So, cool. I'm also a big fan of the 80s aesthetic that is pumping throughout the veins of this game. Primarily in the way that your decisions are displayed as vintage horror VHS covers. I thought that was really cool. I could go ahead and say that part of me wishes that if they were going to give this game that sort of feel, why not just go all the way and set the game in the 80s? But I can also say to that I really enjoyed the sort of the balance between 80s horror movie tropes and the modern teenager. Speaking of the teenagers, got a great cast of characters here, and I particularly like the way that this game is written. The script really stands out to me, in that it really allows those individual personalities to come out in the way that they interact with each other. This game also showed me that I still very much have a juvenile sense of humor. I was busting a gut at every single corny, cheesy one-liner, but I don't care. I was having a blast with it, so that's going down as a positive. With all that being said, is this a flawless game? No, certainly not. There are some elements that I walked away feeling quite mixed on, and some things that I really didn't like. First of which is the werewolf transformations. Now, I'm a sucker for your traditional werewolf transformation. Give me the whole bones breaking, the grotesque contortions, all of that good stuff. Give me that any day of the week. And in the amount of time, the short time that I have been dabbling in werewolf movies, I've come across a few different ways to do that transition. And I have accepted the fact that there are more than just my way, my preferred way, to accomplish this. This game, I can honestly say, I was not expecting the way that this game handles it. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. For those of you that don't know what I'm referring to, these werewolves, when they transform into their wolf form, they quite literally and honestly explode. They get to a point that when they're transitioning, there's that inner struggle between the human side and the beast side that wants out. Well, when they come to the climax of that, where they can't hold it back anymore, and it's just gonna bursts out of them. It literally does, to the point where they just all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, splatter all around the room, and there's just this werewolf standing there. I guess in a roundabout way I got what I wanted. It's intense, it's gross, it caught me by surprise, but I can't necessarily lie and say that I buy it. I mean, it's so violent and aggressive that I can't, in good conscience, get myself to believe that these people are okay in the fact that they're just, when the full moon is gone and the sun rises, they are just back to their good old selves again, a little more naked, which is common with werewolf movies, but they're just completely fine without a scratch. I'm having trouble with that, because this is literally the equivalent of pulling the pin on a grenade, holding it, and blowing your human exoskeleton all over the walls, and then you're just fine. So I honestly don't know how I feel about that. I know the same could be said for probably every single transformation and every single werewolf movie across the board, but I'm just not sure this one was for me. It didn't tickle any fancies. Another element to this game that I felt quite mixed on is the character of Eliza Verez. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the actress's performance. I think she does a fine job within the confines of the game. I get why she's there. I get the how it's all working thematically and things like that, which is a pretty great attention to detail, being that the Wolfman myth comes from the Romani gypsy, I believe. So I completely understand why she's there and what she's doing there, and that all makes sense. The problem is I just don't like her very much compared to the curator from the Dark Pictures anthology or the psychiatrist from Until Dawn. There's just a certain way that they play those roles. There's a certain way, a certain charisma, and a certain sort of cheeky, a sadistic cheekiness, playfulness to the way that they deliver their information to you, but also are very vague about it. That this character just doesn't have. Maybe that's an unfair comparison. I'm not sure. But like I said, I think she does a fine job. She's a believable character. I get why she's here in this game, but just compared to the performances of those other characters, she just doesn't stick out to me, which is unfortunate, because her character, the narrators or the characters that pop up on screen between chapters and kind of guide the story along, are who I look for in a new supermassive game. So to jump into this one and love almost everything about it and walk away a little bit disappointed in her kind of sucks. But I didn't hate her or anything. What I did, probably my only true super dislike, my biggest dislike, is the traveling freak show element to this game. And my primary reason why is because it just doesn't make any sense for being there. And what I mean by that is that the entire plot of this game happens in modern day over the course of 6 years, I believe. But the thing is that traveling freak shows don't exist nowadays. In fact, I turned to the internet and did some research to see exactly when they stopped being a thing, and it said that they fell out of style somewhere around the 1940s, which I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty big time discrepancy there. There's an obvious big missed detail in this lapse of history. But perhaps the biggest issue that I have with it is it's so easily fixable within the plot of this game. I mean, one way you could fix it is just to push the events back a little bit. I mean, the game kind of implies that the family that is affected by this curse is basically a pillar of this small town community. They've been around forever. So why not push it back a little bit? What's wrong with this family being plagued by this curse for decades and decades and decades? Just to help that make sense a little bit more. But let's just say, hypothetically, I am the writer of this plot, and then everybody else comes to me and says the timeline that we've set within the 6-year period, modern day, all of that, has to stay. Like, it cannot be changed. Make it work. An even simpler fix would just to be have somebody acknowledge how strange and out of place this freak show being there is. It wouldn't be very hard to have somebody, anybody for that matter, just say, we don't know, why it came to town. We don't know where it came from. All we know is it showed up one day, and then the tragedy happened, and now we're here. But nobody treats it like it's bizarre. Nobody acknowledges it past, oh yeah, it came to town and some bad stuff happened. But they treat it just like every other carnival or circus that comes to town. They treat it like a regular thing. And it's not, that's a perfect opportunity to play up the more supernatural aspects that are also in this game. Just say it's weird. Acknowledge that it very clearly was there and shouldn't have been. Just have somebody ask those questions. Have somebody acknowledge the fact that traveling freak shows don't exist yet. 6 years ago, in this small town, one showed up. Nobody knows why. Nobody nobody knows anything about it. Just the fact that it showed up, bad stuff happened. That's it. That's simple. And just the fact that that there's nothing to remedy that. It's just a very obnoxious oversight to me that I just wish they fixed it. Because like I said, it's so simple, and yet they just completely overlooked it and expected, I guess, people not to notice. I don't know if it was just me and my mom that went, wait a minute. But that ends up to be my biggest and really my only true gripe with this game. Other than that, I loved it. I definitely think it's going to have a place on my Game of the Year list. Not exactly sure where. All I can say, guys, is that I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video.